Now it's 6 on Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45.
A well-known staple in a small community burnt to the ground earlier this morning. I'm Elena O'Connell. Those details coming up.
Marks the first National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. What you can do to support those who protect and serve. And multiple agencies come together to help combat human trafficking, how they want to raise awareness about the crime. And thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Sharon Stone. Those stories are coming right up. First, here at 6, Weather on the One's chief meteorologist Jeff Crum is here with your forecast.
We'll start out in the morning at around 17 degrees, highs for your Saturday close to 33. We'll talk about Sunday and next week coming up a little later on.
A well-known business in a small community burned to the ground early this morning. An employee of Mountain Lumber and Pallet in Mount Airy called in the fire just before 5 a.m. when he heard an explosion. Elena O'Connell explains how fire crews beat difficult conditions to extinguish it.
It's been here for years, ever since I was little. I remember, it being here. And it probably built back in the 50s.
Chris Poole is among more than 20 people out of a job after fire destroyed Mountain Lumber and Pallet. In Mount Airy, Elena O'Connell, Time Warner Cable News.
Well, no one was injured and the cause of the fire is still under investigation. The Granville County Sheriff's Office has officially filed murder charges against a father and son in the deaths of a couple killed in their home on New Year's Day. A visitation is being held tonight for the victims, Jerome and Dora Faulkner. Amy Elliott has more from Granville County.
Father and son Edward and Eric Campbell are facing a laundry list of charges, including first-degree murder in connection with the deaths of Dora and Jerome Faulkner. Now, both Campbell men remain in custody in West Virginia. Officials still say this appears to be a random act of violence. Now, visitation for the family is being held this evening with a funeral to follow tomorrow. Reporting in Oxford, Amy Elliott, Time Warner Cable News.
A visitation for ESPN anchor Stuart Scott is underway in Raleigh. Scott died Sunday at the age of 49 after a 7-year battle with cancer. He was a 1983 graduate of Reynolds High School in Winston-Salem and attended UNC Chapel Hill. The visitation started at 4. It will go until 8 o'clock at Providence Baptist Church. Private funeral services will be held tomorrow. A grassroots movement is trying to boost morale among police officers and deputies. Today marked the first ever National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Meg Smith says participating is as easy as saying thank you to men and women in uniform.
You never know what kind of cause you're going to go on.
For GPD's Evan Simmons, being a police officer is a passion.
We don't know what type of day you've been having, and so you don't know what type of day that officer's been having. And your saying thank you could mean a lot to that officer.
Showing appreciation for those who are dedicated to protecting us.
And you just try to do your best to go the extra mile for them at every turn.
In Greensboro, Meg Smith, Time Warner Cable News.
Okay, a slew of drug charges put a High Point man in jail under more than $7 million bond. Authorities arrested Gregory Monroe yesterday afternoon. You see him here. After a joint investigation by Thomasville Police, the Davidson County Sheriff's Office, Randolph County Sheriff's Office, High Point Police, and Homeland Security. They hit him with several charges, including trafficking heroin. Monroe was already wanted by High Point Police and the Guilford County Sheriff for not showing up to court on a number of charges. There were heroin-related charges against him, as well as failing to report a new address as a sex offender. In recognition of January being Human Trafficking Prevention Month, law enforcement agencies and community groups joined forces to stop it. Thanks to a number of unique public-private partnerships, more victims are receiving help and more offenders are being brought to justice. Becky B. Ryder has more.
Human trafficking doesn't just happen overseas, it happens here in America.
This group, known as the Charlotte Metropolitan Human Trafficking Task Force, is working to stop this dark problem plaguing communities across the country. In Charlotte, Becky B. Ryder, Time Warner Cable News.
If you are a victim of trafficking or have information about a possible trafficking situation, you are urged to call the National Human Trafficking Resource Center for help. That number is 1-888-373-7888. All right, still ahead here at 6 o'clock. Mother Nature put the brakes on some construction work NCDOT had planned for the weekend. And later.
Sunny conditions expected for the better part of the weekend. There'll be some changes later on Sunday, but also the cold temperatures will be around for the weekend as well. We'll give you a look at all those details coming up with your Weather on the Ones forecast.
You're watching Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45.
A 19-year-old woman is dead and a 1-year-old boy is injured after a crash on I-40 this morning. Mindy Burnett of Greenville died after rear-ending her car into a tractor-trailer that was slowing down to avoid another tractor-trailer that jackknifed in the middle of the road. State Highway Patrol says black ice is to blame. They're asking drivers to stay aware of road conditions whenever temperatures drop.
With the cold weather, and if there's any chance of any ice being forecast on the roads, just to watch out and be safe, slow down, and increase your following distances.
Icy roads caused 2 other accidents just on I-40 this morning. No one was injured in those other crashes. Weather has once again paused construction work for NCDOT this weekend. The stretch of Business 40 at Macy Grove Road in Kernersville will not be closed as planned because crews can't work in these temperatures. Elise Michelanis explains it's not because workers mind the weather.
We try to keep a check on the weather, so we're constantly looking at the weather, especially this time of year. You know, we could get wet precipitation, snow and ice.
But sometimes it's just too cold for construction. Even if crews are willing to work in freezing temps, when it comes to construction, Mother Nature has the final say. In Kernersville, Elise Michelanis, Time Warner Cable News.
NCDOT says there will be signs letting drivers know where detours will be next weekend. And don't be surprised to see other work going on this weekend because the cold may not interfere with some projects. Duke Energy Progress set a new all-time record for winter power use yesterday. The utility says the power most used between 7 and 8 a.m. Usage beat out the old record set during the polar vortex last January. Duke had asked customers to conserve energy during this cold blast. Your sports is up next here at 6. We'll look at how the Panthers plan to deal with the Seattle crowd noise. Jason has that and more. And President Obama makes a big announcement about community colleges. That is in our Carolina Minute.
On the eve of their playoff matchup with Seattle, Panthers officially list receiver Philly Brown, linebacker A.J. Klein, safety Thomas Decoud, and cornerback Melvin White as listed as questionable for the game. All week, Carolina has practiced with crowd noise pumped into Bank of America Stadium in order to help the team get used to the decimals they'll face in Seattle. We'll have more from the Panthers on your next update at 11. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Charlotte Mayor Dan Clodfelter made a friendly wager with Seattle Mayor Ed Murray. They're both betting local products such as Carolina barbecue and iconic music that their team will win tomorrow's game. The mayor says all the playoff attention is great for the Queen City.
We'll be seen all over the country. People will talk about us all over the country. People will think about Charlotte as a place to be. They'll want to know more about our city. They want to know what we're like. And they may even come visit and may even decide to come live here.
The mayors also agreed that the loser will take a picture in the winning team's jersey. Speaking of jerseys, Cam Newton's jersey ranked #1 in sales in the last week, according to Dick's Sporting Goods. He was ranked 10th before the playoffs. Luke Kuechly has the 4th best-selling jersey in the country. He's actually the only defensive player in the top 15. It's still to come here at 6. Stocks ended the week in the red. We'll have that update with our crew from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And after the break, Chief Meteorologist Jeff Crum has your full weather on the ones.
Well, welcome back, everyone, as we continue here on this Friday evening, wrapping up a day that had some good sunshine across the Triad. A little cold this morning, but not nearly as cold as what we had over the last couple of days. So there has been some gradual improvement, but just don't expect a big warm-up into the weekend. As we look at Storm Tracker, things are pretty quiet for us across the Triad this hour. Extended forecast, that chance for that rain later Sunday night, again, small possibility for a little bit of an icy mix. We may see that opportunity again late Tuesday night, early Wednesday, and then again late Wednesday night into early Thursday. So stay up to date with us as the weekend and next week unfold.
Now here's tonight's Carolina Minute. Police say a Fayetteville woman shot her husband in the chest this morning, thinking he was an intruder. Tiffany Segul was sleeping just after 10 when she heard her husband set off the house alarm when arriving home unexpectedly. The woman shot her husband through the bedroom door. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to be okay. Good news for future community college students. President Obama announced his new plan to send students to community college for free for 2 years if they're willing to work hard. The program, called America's College Promise, will require students to maintain a certain GPA. 2 brothers accused in the terrorist attack at magazine Charlie Hebdo have been killed. Police say the pair took a hostage and held up in the printing plant outside of Paris. The hostage was freed. Also in Paris, another man accused in the deadly shooting of a police officer yesterday took hostages this morning at a kosher supermarket. 5 people, including the suspect, died. 4 others were critically injured. These stories and more are available anytime on Time Warner Cable News. Well, employment is up nationwide. Let's get the latest on the economy now from our team on Wall Street.
I'm Diane King Hall from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Well, in a topsy-turvy week, Wall Street ended lower today as investors shrugged off an upbeat jobs report. By the close, Dow Industrials tumbled 170 points. The Nasdaq sank 32. The S&P 500 lost 17. It wasn't all sunny skies in the December report. Wages surprisingly declined. From the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Diane King Hall.
The Olympics could be headed to Beantown. The U.S. Olympic Committee selected Boston as the American city to bid for the 2024 Games. The committee says the decision to select Boston was unanimous. Boston beat out Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. It's been nearly 2 decades since the U.S. hosted the Summer Olympic and Paralympic Games, which were in Atlanta in 1996. Tonight on Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45, the 6th annual Small Business Summit is taking place at Guilford Technical Community College. How this year's summit focuses on creating growth at 11. And that is our time here at 6. Hope to see you at 11.